See who's I'm here. Okay, you said you're here. Amazing. All right, and we're live. Hi, everyone. I am one of your co-hosts for Elevate Your Energy Frequency. I'm here with my other co-host, Shanae Cotton.
Good morning, everyone. Good
yes.
To you.
And our third co-host, Erin Saunders, should be joining us shortly. We are here with a very, very special guest. Her name is Lucia Giovannini. And let me tell you a little something about Lucia. She is a world-renowned sensation, former international Italian supermodel, turned transformational speaker, and the author of 13 books. Wow. Her 25 years of work, breakthrough, groundbreaking work through international conferences and workshops and seminars and retreats and meditations has been inspired by her having grown up throughout different parts of Italy and Africa, where she was immersed in the beauty and pain of these unforgettable lands. What's incredibly unique and brilliant and transformative about her work is that she crafts this synergy between traditional psychological techniques, motivational practices, and ancient Eastern rituals. And so this unique synergy of her work allows Lucia to create profound transformative experiences for her audience, giving them, enabling them, empowering them to overcome their limiting beliefs and their fears. And so we're so excited today to be talking about one topic that we're confident is heavy on everyone's hearts and minds, and that is mental challenges and difficult times. Welcome, Lucia. Thank you so much for being here with us. We're so excited to be able to have a conversation with you.
Thank you for the awesome introduction, really. And I'm so excited to be here with you. Really so excited. Thanks for having me with you.
Well, we'd love to start by having you tell us a little bit about your story and these, what inspired you to turn into a transformational speaker, and more specifically, to tell us about your being immersed in the beauty and pain of living in Africa and Italy.
Yeah. So what I'll start from the end. So what inspired me to make this huge change in my career? I think the inspiration. I think the push for change started from depression, basically. And as it is usual the case, as it usual the case, it is pain that prompts us to do something when we can't stand our life anymore. And then there's an urgency to change, and then it's where we take action, basically. And that is what happened with me. So as you said, I was born in Italy. I spent the first years of my childhood in Italy. And then as my father moved to Africa and to Nigeria, Zambia, and Tanzania, which were beautiful, magnificent places in terms of nature, but definitely not so easy places to live in terms of politics, economy, religion, turmoil, especially Nigeria. And so I started traveling between Italy and Africa, and spending some time of my year in Africa and some time in Italy. And most of the time I was traveling alone. At that time traveling was not that easy. There were not easy connections or connecting flights. So I would spend 2 days traveling with this huge card on my here, saying, my destination, and then some flight assistant would take care of me. and so and then Africa at that time, and I'm sure it still is, except that I haven't been back to Africa in a few years, but was incredibly powerful in terms of nature and energy, and that the vitality, the aliveness of nature was incredible. You could almost feel it, like you could almost feel the spirit of a tree there, like if I could touch it. Animals and sunsets, skies. It was, so amazingly beautiful. And on the other hand, of course, there was a lot of poverty, like people dying, because they didn't have enough to eat, or tribal fights and so political fights, especially, as I mentioned before, in Nigeria. So it was definitely not easy. Hi, Erin.
Yeah, how are you?
Fine, thank you. I was describing, my childhood. And so I think that was what prompted me, in a way, or primed me to actually do anything I could to alleviate suffering, human suffering, as well as, suffering of animals, suffering of Mother Nature. And I kind of swore to myself, when I was a little kid, that I would do anything to alleviate that suffering. And then, of course, as I grew older, I kind of forgot that promise that I made to myself. And while I was at college, I started modeling by chance, by the way. For me, it was just, some extra money to pay for my studies, easy money. And so I said, well, why not? It's nice. And then it became a full career. and I got so immersed in that world. And at the beginning, it was fabulous and very, as I said, very, very nice, very attractive, easy, easy in a way, money. Easy. It was not that easy because I had to work hard. We were working long hours and traveling from one country to the other. But in that sense, it was very glamorous. I married a dashing man, and he was also a model, and all our friends were in that world, until I slowly got into a depression. I had it all. Everything looked at the superficial level, at an external level, looked perfect, but I was not happy inside. And what was worse is that I couldn't understand why, because when I spoke to my husband and to my friends, they said, why? What do you want? You have a nice job, you have friends, you have a beautiful house. So it took a while to really realize that it was my, there was a part of me that was dying inside. And the part of me was that part, that younger Lucia, that part of me that made that promise. I was forgetting my mission in a way. And so, to cut a long story short, I ended up leaving it all and going back to my hometown and starting again, and that's where I am now. So
Wow! What an incredible hero's journey. The depression was essentially a marker, an indicator, life telling you, Lucia, you are not living true to your purpose.
Yeah.
And so what was it? Can you recall specifically, like, what woke you up to that? Like, what was the moment? Can you describe exactly, like, your aha moment, and then what you did in that moment to take action?
So there were quite a few moments. I would say it was a collection of smaller aha moments. One moment was when I realized I was waking up every morning and counting and starting my work, my fabulous work. But while I was in there, I was counting the hours. Okay, still 5 hours, still 4 hours and a half, still 4 hours, 3 more hours to go. And it was like I was not living in the moment. I was not really enjoying what I was doing anymore. So there was one moment when I was able for a short time to look at myself from the outside, like if I were looking at a movie and saying, how long do you think you can go on like this? It's like I was waiting for the evening, and then for the next day, and then for the next evening. It's like I was just waiting the days to pass, to go where, And this was one moment. And another moment, of course, I was scared to death to leave everything behind, because that was my only career, my only certainty. And it also meant leaving really everything behind, because at the end, I left my job, but I also left my marriage, because they were intertwined in a way. So, and I was keeping on asking myself, you may follow your dream, you may follow your mission, your purpose, but then what is the cost of all that? But then there was one moment when I turned the question around and I asked myself, what cost are you paying for not following your purpose? If you look at your future and you project yourself a few years or ahead, and you look back, what will be the cost? For living a whole life which is not true to your purpose. And then that's when I said, okay, it doesn't matter what cost I'm paying now, but at least I will be doing everything to follow my purpose and to keep that promise to myself.
That is such a big, because the three of us have all been asked that question. We all three completed this very powerful leadership transformation program, and we kind of woke up to a greater purpose in life, and we were asked, like, what is the cost? What is the price you're paying? What is the price you're paying to not live true to whatever it is that's calling you? Are you comfortable sharing some of your response, your what you knew to be the cost eventually?
Yeah. So the cost would have been to waste my life, basically, because I thought, I ended up projecting myself even to at an older age, when probably it would have been, too late. I mean, I know it's never too late, but I mean, if I at that time I was in my late 20s, early 30s, and of course, if I had projected myself in my 90s and look back, living a life which is not what I wanted to live. So it was, I felt like, I don't want to go into that direction. So that was the main motivator for me. So yeah, wasting my life would have been the biggest cost. And in terms of the other costs, the costs I paid for the change that I made, for the transformation that I made, there were many. Starting from my beautiful house, I left my beautiful house to my ex-husband, but that was out of sense of guilt. Okay, it was just because I felt so guilty that I left him everything. I lost a few friends because they thought she's gone crazy. I mean, she's totally nuts. So, and probably they felt threatened by my choice. That's what I think, But anyway, so I paid. The cost was to give up my certainties in a way. So it's a monetary cost. Because, of course, at the beginning of this career, I was not earning a penny or a dollar, definitely. And so, but I was okay with that, I didn't have children. I didn't have So it was okay. I said, what is another question, that self-coaching question that was really helpful for me was, what is the worst thing that can happen?
Mm-hmm.
If everything goes wrong, what is the worst thing that can happen?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was not going to die, hopefully. I could die anyway, I mean, in either direction. So that there was not, dying was not related to the choices that I made. So I could end up, homeless. Okay, I mean, I can live under a bridge, I can do something, and then I'll find the work. I'll work as a waitress, I'll find something. So there was not really, I'll end up alone and broke. Those were the, biggest fears. And there were moments when I felt those fears, especially I remember at Christmas Eve in my hometown Bologna, where I saw everybody walking on the streets like happy couples, happy families, and I was there alone. My savings were dwindling very fast, so I was like, alone. Losing money, and the worst thing is that I had done that to myself. So but again, that was the worst thing that could happen. Other than that, what else could happen? So even those costs, I mean, and I think that fear setting in a way, looking at your fears in their face and really questioning them. I think it's a very good process to go through, because when we do that, we realize that the situation, even in the worst case scenario, is not as bad as it seems. Not as bad as the ghosts in our mind make us believe it will be.
Oh, wow, that is such an incredible share. There's so much of that story in terms of the realization of what's the worst that can happen. Like, what's the worst that can happen? And even then, Lucia, you know what I hear from you is like so much courage, and you're willing to take the risk. And you literally confronted your fears head on, and you trusted, you had faith, and you knew there was something beautiful, incredible, no matter what, waiting for you on the other side. And so in terms of the work that you do during your seminars, your retreats, your meditations, your conferences, and your workshops, what are some of the most profound things that you talk about in those sessions to help inspire transformative change in people?
Yeah, well, my work is a mix of cognitive psychology, we could call it, self-coaching, where we like confronting your fears, is one of that, talking to your fears, in terms of really questioning and probing, our thoughts and our deepest fears. And on the other side, there's a well-developed non-cognitive approach, spiritual approach, or I would say intuitive approach. Okay, because I think, at least for me, I think that the two approaches combined together produce a very synergistic, I think it's the word that you can use, synergistic effect, a powerful effect. So on one side is a series of coaching questions that are aimed at really confronting your fears, and going deep into that. And I just shared a few, to realize that the ghosts of your mind, are just ghosts. And that you have the ability, even in the worst case scenario, you have the ability, the resources to manage what could come up, as a result of your choices.
Yeah.
And on the other side, there's a similar in terms of objective, a similar meditation, but the idea is to become your fear. And it comes from an ancient pre-Buddhist tradition, and is really to embody your fear, become your fear, and let your fear speak to you. And then there's the meditation where you melt into your fear, and you give light to your fear. And we know that when we immerse the darkness with light, when we bring light into the darkness disappears. So in this meditation and this process, the idea is to transform the fear into an ally. So
oh my gosh,
friend, because in reality, most of our fears are just a part of ourself or of our unconscious mind who wants to protect us. So once we extract the protective part from our fear, then the fear, and we love our fear instead of fighting it. We accept our fear. We talk to our fear. Then the fear itself has no more purpose. We take the protective part when we try to transform it into and take the advice from it, and at the same time we let the inflated part of our fear, we let it dissolve, we let it deflate, like if it were a balloon inflated with air, and we just deflate it. So
Lucia, can I interrupt for a second? I just feel very called to acknowledge you saying that you help people to become one with their fear. To me, that is so incredibly powerful, because not only do we have our own fears that we confront, right? We have the fears energetically that we also confront with our loved ones in our relationships, friends, families, and even society. Politics is a perfect example, right? And we're trained to either run away from fear or fight it.
Yes.
Fight it from a place of judgment and attack. So what you are presencing to us is like the complete opposite of what most of us know in terms of how to deal with fear.
Yeah, absolutely. That you put it very, very clear. Yeah, that's the idea, and I think that's the path. Because as you said, we do not just confront our fears, the fears we inherited from our family, the fears of the people living around us, the fearing of society at large, and especially in this period we are bombarded with messages of fear all over we look, medias, etc. And by the way, I can't help thinking that there's a pattern to it, that there's an intent, because otherwise it drives me crazy to think that there's so many messages of fear, which is the exact opposite of what there should be. Because when we are immersed in fear, our immune system the functionality of our immune system is lowered. So that's another story. That would be the topic of it.
It's so magical.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, Sinead.
So what I wanted to add to that is it's so magical because there's this, we're talking about this transmutation of fear, which causes this chaos, this like entropy, right? So it's coming from all over the place. Like imagine kind of mosquitoes all around you, kind of feeding you this information, or in a sense, kind of sucking the energy, that life force out of us. And so when we meet it with the sense of love, and I love how you're presencing that, like it's the complete opposite way that we've been trained and programmed to deal with our fears. So when we actually merge with it, become one with it, what does that actually mean to become one with our fear? our heart is so powerful, and we've been presencing in our global community, Lucia, that the heart is the portal to creation. And when we can meet even the worst of fears that are, you know, a reflection of and projection of ourselves, when we can actually meet ourselves with love and meet the aspects that we're projecting out with love, and not just like the, oh my gosh, it feels good, because it's hard to feel good in the moments when you feel like you're going crazy, right? And fearful and challenged. So like maintaining that frequency of love, right? Like that's the ultimate, it's like that's the ultimate presence that we are, you know? So it's like getting back to that, and then everything becomes synergistic, as you're saying, Lucia. It's just, I so resonate with that, and I'm sure so many people watching us today. It's like, but it is a challenge. It's a super simple concept, but it's not easy.
Yeah, it's not easy, especially because in a way our nervous system reflects that you know that approach, that double approach, you know, of fight or flight. You know, as you were saying, Susaita, the what we've been taught, and that is exactly what our nervous system mirrors, is either fight your fear or escape from your fear. The fight or flight response. So the stress response. And we all know that even from, you know, a purely psychological point of view, when we live in our life, when we respond to our life with a stress response, we are not living at our best. We are not living at the top of our potentialities. We are actually hostage to our emotions, and we don't even take the smartest decisions, because what is activated is our amygdala, is not our frontal lobe, you know, where the problem solving capacities are. Even, you know, I'm not even talking from an energetical point of view, I'm talking from a purely psychological, you know, point of view. So the fight or flight response, especially if it's, you know, a continual habit of, you know, the way we live, will not bring us anywhere. It will bring us to even more stress, to a downward spiral, to lowering our immune system even more, to taking dumber decisions, worse decisions even more. So really, the only intelligent and wise thing to do is to try and rise from this, you know, lower kind of living, and go into the simple one decision, either fear or love, as Shone, you were sharing. And I know it's not easy, okay? And I know it's something that all society is priming us to go into direction of fear. All the messages, everything that is happening around us is pushing us into the direction of fear. And our choice needs to be choose love again and again, every day. Our every small actions, like interactions with our, you know, loved ones, with our colleagues, at the supermarket, in social media, with ourselves, you know. And it's not easy, I know, but it takes training and faith, and, you know.
How powerful is that choice, that power of choice that we have to make that decision, right? Like, and it's so amazing how we all have the power to do that, you know. And what comes up for me too is like even having love and presencing love within our hearts, and using that energy for even for the different ego brains, which it's kind of like, you know, it serves us. You know, there's different way that ego serves us in terms of like the survival and the fight, the sympathetic fight and flight freeze response. It serves us in certain, you know, situations, like if I'm running from a tiger, or certain situations where we might seriously be unsafe, and in the moment get to, you know, get out of the situation for our physical bodies and well-being. But the whole thing that I love you mentioning, Lucia, is that is that over the long term, that then becomes detrimental to our emotional health and well-being. You know, we weren't made, you know, meant to be in these long-term, positions of stress and fight or flight and freeze. Like that over the long term is just, you know, very causes disease.
Yeah,
Over the long term. So to have the power of choice to choose love every single time, even the love of, oh, my ego just told me, and my brain and my fight or flight, my amygdala just told me to get out of this situation to save my body. I love that. You know, like it's amazing, you know, the power of our bodies.
yeah, as you said, you know, the big difference is that I'm not saying stress or fight or flight or and freeze response is not helpful. It is in short-term situations. But the thing is that it's kind of difficult for us now to realize, because, I mean, if we think at our ancestors or if we think at animals, it's easy to see when they were in danger or when the danger was not there anymore. Like there's a lion, I'm in danger. There's not a lion, I'm fine. But honestly, it's not easy to walk in the streets of New York or Rome or Paris and see a lion. It's quite unusual. So what are our lions, you know, our dangers? The danger of being rejected, the danger of doing a mistake, the danger of not being accepted, the danger of not being good enough, beautiful enough, etc., etc.
So much. Now, Lucia, I'm engaging. So I'm on the keyboard typing because I'm engaging with our audience who's watching through our Facebook group and also on our YouTube channel. And I would love to just relay some of the comments coming through. We have Carolyn Van Gastel, and she says she's very grateful for Lucia talking about fear. And right now here in Europe, the fear which is spreaded, whereas it should be the opposite. And she's asking, and Carolyn, let us know, I think Lucia may have answered this already. She's asking, do you treat that kind of fear? And I think when she wrote this, you were talking about the fight or flight response. Yeah. And so is there anything more you can add to that, the fight or flight response fear?
Yeah, well, one practice, one very easy in a way and an immediate practice that you can use is breath, you know, like conscious breathing. Because conscious breathing, even, you know, 1 minute of deep breathing, deep and slow breathing, what happens is it rebalances our system. And especially if we are in a situation where we feel anxiety, we feel the fight or flight response has been activated, we feel fear, what is very useful is to make the exhale double of the inhale. So let's say that I inhale on the count of 4, I exhale on the count of 8. I inhale on the count of 3, for example, I exhale on the count of 6. So whatever is the inhale, I double the exhale. And that is because the exhale is linked to the parasympathetic system, which is the system. Our nervous system has two, let's say, it has two parts, the sympathetic system and the parasympathetic system. We can see the sympathetic system as the accelerator and the parasympathetic system as the brake. And so the exhale is linked to the, or stimulates the parasympathetic system. So if you just take like 3-4 breaths, you know, long deep breath, counting the exhale double than the inhale, then you have balanced in, like, it's really a remedy, a rescue remedy for, if you know, I don't know if you know, back flowers, or it's an emergency remedy for you know, anxiety and fear, and it just brings immediate rebalancing.
I know for me, several years ago when I started that practice of just simply breathing, I felt like such a tug still to react. Like I really wanted to react. That's where my energy was. And so to like pause and just breathe, it took a lot of effort. It took a lot of discipline to just be like, no, Suzaida, sit here even for 2 minutes and just calm your breath. And now over time, it's, you know, now it's starting to become second nature. And I don't have so much that reaction to be like, you know. So I guess I just wanted to add that piece, because for people who are new to this, you know, methodology or tool, like give yourself grace to know that you're literally reprogramming the way that you are responding to the fear, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It needs a little bit of training, a little bit of patience. And in that process, just be loving to yourself. You know?
Erin, you've been kind of quiet. What's coming up for you in these conversations?
You know, I was thinking about the topic that we're talking about with mental health, and just how, you know, our world basically turned upside down last year. And I know a lot of people are struggling with just all of the changes that have occurred over the last year in, you know, these new ways that we're expected to behave with here. We're in California. Suzaida and I are in California, and you know, I'm not. Are you in Italy right now, or?
I'm in Italy right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
To get back to Thailand, I'm stuck in Italy.
I just feel like things have been changing so rapidly. It's like, you know, it's just hard to really like comprehend it all. And I know that it can be confusing for people, and that can lead to, you know, maybe struggling with depression. And, you know, and I know it all leads back to fear, but what would you say to someone who's just, you know, really, really just struggling with this past year and of all the things that are going on? And perhaps maybe you could offer them some kind of tool to help them lift them out of.
Yeah. So the first practical thing, you know, I would say is to establish a kind of routine for yourself. Because I know it's so difficult. As you said, our world has been turned upside down. So remote working, kids at home instead, I don't know there, but in Italy, schools are still closed. So, you know, and of course, when you have a kid at home or several kids at home, then your house becomes a school, a restaurant, a gym, you know, an office. And most of, at least in Italy, I don't know there, but most of the work falls on the shoulder of women, you know, and so at the end of the day. And so on top of all the uncertainty, you know, because we don't know when this will finish. We don't know what will happen in the next month. I mean, we don't know. Many people are worried, rightfully so, for their money, you know, and so for their jobs. And so there are so much that we are going through that, and all our certainties have been wiped out in a way. So we need to ground ourselves. That's why I say establish a routine, a kind of self-care routine, even if it's just a few minutes a day, because I know that, I mean, some people can be super busy, even busier than before, because they have the kids home, that, you know, they have to take care of more things. But, you know, just, you know, a few minutes in the morning, like meditation or breath work, yoga or Pilates, I don't know, anything you like. I don't know if it's possible to take a walk outside. For us in Italy, it's basically forbidden, so it's even tougher in that sense. But, you know, like even half an hour in the morning, half an hour or 20 minutes midday, and definitely some time before going to sleep. because lots of people are telling me that they have difficulties sleeping, you know. And sleep is so important because it nourishes our body, but not just that. It helps our mind to discharge, you know, to detox in a way of all the emotions, all the energies that we've dealt with during the day. And so, of course, if we stay up watching the news, uh, basically bad news with the COVID numbers, etc., up to the time where when we go to bed, it's basically impossible to fall asleep in a you know in a positive way. We even if we fall asleep, we'll have the sleep will be disturbed, will not be a good, nourishing, restful sleep. So it could be, for example, as I said, morning, some, you know, yoga, physical activity, meditation, and maybe midday could be even a short walk in nature. Before falling asleep, it could be a little bit of meditation again. It would be reading an inspirational book, you know, watching that, you know, but not watching television, but watching a good inspirational, I don't know, podcast or program, something like that. And but do it consistently. A small routine, and the routine serves as a grounding experience. This is I mean, at the practical level. And then, of course, I would work with breathing exercises, with affirmations, with some journaling, in order to process all that we are, you know, facing right now.
Yeah, those tools, Lucia, are very consistent with what Erin, Shanae, and I implement ourselves on a daily basis. We have a question from the one of our audience members, and I'd love to offer this right now. She says, this is from Bev Swanson, and she says, Lucia, where did you find the strength it took to let everything go? All that you knew, to move into your heart's calling, such courage. I know you touched on this earlier, and we would love to, I'm sure the audience would love to hear that again, because they're experiencing you as somebody inspiring them as a source of strength and empowerment.
Yeah. So as I said, I think that a big part of my strength came from the depression, came from I can't stand this anymore. So I don't want to keep on living like this. And there was, at that point, there's no other choice. The other choice was to let myself dry up and you know, go down into the rabbit hole, into the depression even more. And of course, I didn't want that. So and of course the other piece, missing piece, is recognizing the depression for what it was, you know. So it was a soul calling, it was my soul calling, and for that I guess meditation helped. I was already meditating, not very much, you know, like 5-6 minutes, probably 10 minutes a day, but consistently, and that helped. And prayer also helped, you know, just asking spirit, God, Buddha, whatever you call him or her. I also like to think, you know, of God as a goddess, but anyway. And so talking to spirit and asking for guidance. And so I think that's in a way spirit showed up in, you know, in sending me more clarity, and part of that strength, or big part of the strength, came from that, from trust, in a way, trusting the universe, you know? Trusting that whatever, as I said, whatever would have happened, even in the worst case scenario, I would have survived.
Wow. We have our audience saying thank you, the blessing of our dark nights of the soul.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah. And we have someone saying, I quit watching news programs. Would you advise this as well to others?
Absolutely. I don't have television. I mean, I gave away my television probably 20 years ago. And, and I definitely never watch news. I just, the other day, because here in Italy, I don't know if it's the same there, but here in Italy, they have yellow zones, red zones, white zones, orange zones. And it's crazy because you never know which zone you are in because they keep on changing. So I don't know now. Bologna, the city, I don't even know the zone if we are yellow or I know we are not red, and this is good, but I don't even know if we are yellow or orange because I stopped, caring about that because my focus, my attention, my energy, I want to, to have it on something else. Otherwise, it's difficult,
Yeah,
absolutely.
we have someone joining us from Belgium, and it's Carol, and she asked the first question, and she says, Belgium is a small town, but even so, the same it seems.
Yeah. So I think that we can't, at a certain level, we can't influence, the big decisions of the politicians of, the world, decision makers, but we can definitely influence or have total power on how we respond to that, on how we manage ourselves, on our mindset, on our energy, how we keep and protect our energy. And we may be powerless over the decision of the powerful ones, of the politicians and so forth, but we are totally powerful on ourselves. So let's at least use our power on what we can.
And Lucia, the beautiful thing about that is there's such a large community of people, such as this one, where we're all raising our, elevating our frequency, our energy frequency, and maintaining those states of being. Because it matters, like like you're saying, like our inner experience of everything around. It's like everything can be going chaotic around us, but kind of like maintaining the eye of the storm, and that's what we're putting out, and in numbers, it becomes powerful. It is powerful. It's like you're powerful yourself, spread that and emanate that outward, and we all become powerful in droves and become like one organism,
Absolutely.
That is a force to be reckoned with.
I love that.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I think that if there's a way to influence the outer world, is to work on ourselves, to keep our frequencies elevated, high, and then to join together, energetically, and that will be a strong force.
That's beautiful. I think you literally punctuated a big intention for why we're building this community. And why we are attracting the kinds of people that we're attracting and speakers such as yourself. And as we come to a close here, which it's been so incredible, Lucia, hearing your story and you just sharing very, very practical ways for us to come head to head with our fear and call upon our courage and our strength and really be able to live, authentically to what we're being called to in this lifetime. What are some last parting words of wisdoms or insights or teachings would you like to offer our audience?
Well, I'd like to share, something that has been a process of mine, actually. And it touches on what we already talked about, but it expands it a little bit. So I frequently used to ask myself, how can I make a difference? How can I really, help people make a difference? Because at the end of the day, I'm not, I'm not a big name in terms of I'm not a politician. I'm not, a big business person. I'm not, I don't own a big corporate or things like that. I'm not an actress or a famous singer. But I realized that in reality, we all make a difference because we all have people around us, starting from our family, our friends, our co-workers. And so, and the world is made of, nations. And nations are made of cities, and cities are made of communities, families, workplaces. And so we all make a difference. So at the end, the question to ask ourselves is not so much, how can I make a difference? Because we all make a difference anyway, to our life and to the life of others. The right question to ask ourselves is, which kind of difference do I want to make? So we can wake up every day and ask ourselves these questions.
Oh, that's juicy.
Very juicy.
That's juicy, Lucia. And I just would like to say I feel inspired and called to presence that this is the empowering news station. All of us here building this global community, this community, all of you tuned in, like this is the empowering news station. We're coming on with beautiful people like Lucia, who's sharing her gifts. Like we all have these particular beautiful gifts. No one has our frequency. No one has our unique essence and frequency. You all have a particular one. So it's like so beautiful that we can all make a difference and come together and really uplift each other and elevate. So Lucia, I just want to thank you so much, for being with us today. It's like it elevated my day, that's for sure. Just being
Yes.
I want to also say thank you to everyone who showed up and who's watching and tuned in live to it's really our intention to elevate your day and start you out in an empowered way. Allow for yourself to have compassion and grace with yourself and start your day off the way you choose. And what a magical way. So thank you, Lucia. Thank you, Lucia. Thank you, my co-host, and thank you everybody, tuning in. So these conscious conversations are about.
Lucia, where can people find you online if they want to get in touch later or learn more about your work?
Yeah, so my website, luciagiovannini.com, is, I would say, the best place, or my Facebook page, Lucia Giovannini, or my Instagram, or my LinkedIn. So
beautiful.
Those 4 places, basically.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having invited me here. It's really such a pleasure. You are doing such a wonderful work. Well, so you're doing an incredible work, I think the world needs this kind of work so much.
Thank you. We received that. Yes, we are about delivering content that is going to serve us and uplift us and transform our lives. So thank you for being a part of that. And thank you to the audience for your participation and your engagement. We hope that this moves you and inspires you, and that you have picked up some very tangible things for you to confront your fears, no matter what kind of fears they are.
And meet them with love.
And meet them with love, always with love.
Yeah.
Namaste.
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 Fabulous day.
Lots of love, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.